Presenting today under the topic, Getting into Your Own Harvard, are the founders of an extraordinary Cambridge-based group called Veritas Tutoring, both graduates of Harvard College. They have quite literally written the book on helping parents and students navigate the arduous task of getting through the college placement process. It is my pleasure to introduce the founders of Veritas Tutoring, Mr. Andrew Magliozzi and Mr. Jay Stefania. Thank you.
So you might find this hard to believe. We too were once high school students applying to college.
And it was hard then, and it's even harder now, as you guys know. For that reason, we're here to help you navigate and take the guesswork out of getting into your Harvard.
What is your Harvard? It's the title of this presentation. I should clarify it a little bit. It's sort of that dream school that everybody has in mind, but you know, it's within your grasp, but far from a guarantee.
Yeah, well, one of the things that students don't realize is that there's schools out there for almost everyone.
It's just a matter of finding the right one and looking inward, mostly, to answer the questions about yourself that we don't always ask. So the admissions process, I like to say, is a great time for introspection. We help you sort of review and maybe even revise that narrative you tell yourself about yourself. So one of the things I like to talk about are admissions officers. Who's your audience for your application? An admissions officer will know your context. They'll know really the school, and they'll really have a strong personal connection for you. They want you to get in. They really do. The only problem is that they actually have a ridiculous workload. 1,700 or 1,800 applications to read in a single season. Those
1,699 applications that are not yours are basically all of your competition. So you can imagine if you're an admissions officer locked up in the winter reading all these applications, you've got to read something pretty special on an application. And special grades and scores are not quite special enough. So what we want to understand is, what is it that can actually make your application and you memorable?
So here's pretty much everything that's going to be in your application. Like we said, it's a holistic process, and really, basically an admissions officer will take about 20 minutes to read your application. That's your time to shine, your moment in the spotlight. And you've really got to captivate the attention very quickly. I think I should emphasize that grades and as well as test scores really aren't even obsessed over by the admissions officer. I can't say this enough. They really only look at these for about 30 seconds, maybe a minute, just a glance. And you say, well, how is that possible? All they're looking to see are indicators of whether you're admissible or not. If you're falling in their general range of students who can do the work.
So we would recommend, you know, once you hit that threshold, to see if you can take that time and explore something else. So instead of spending another 6 months doing SAT prep or studying for your classes in the next semester, what we really would recommend that you do is think about your extracurricular activities. Two myths here. One is that they're not important, that, oh, I don't need to do any other extracurriculars, I can just do well on my test scores and my grades and get into college. Number two is the more you do, the better, sort of the opposite side of the spectrum here. And that's also a myth. You need to do things outside of class, but you need to focus on a couple of them and really take some effort and pride in them and do well on them.
So the next step, essays and supplements, where you get to talk unmediated directly to your admissions officer, that person, like I said, who cares about you and actually wants you to get in.
Another really important piece, aside from the essays, are the recommendations. One of the major ways that these admissions officers get to know you is through the recommendations that your teachers, coaches, other people write about you.
I heard a story last year about a student who had a recommendation from Bill Clinton and was not even considered for admission to Harvard. So it really isn't who you have write their status, it's how well they know you and how much they can speak about you.
So the next part I like to talk about is the interview. I was a Harvard interviewer for about 3 years, and I can say honestly it's rarely the thing that gets you into school, but it can be the thing that keeps you out. Really what the interview is, it's the last thing the admissions officers look at through their whole evaluation process, and they're looking there to confirm what they think they already know about you. So the idea with the interview is just, you know, be genuine, be yourself throughout this whole process, and it'll come through in the interview. It should be fine.
Yeah, now we're going to give you a breakdown, ninth grade through senior year, the things that you need to be thinking of. You know, ninth grade is the beginning of high school, and it's the beginning of your permanent record. And it's a time for exploration. It's a time where you need to be finding out in your classes, in your extracurriculars, what it is that you really love to do. You could join a club, take an interesting class, join a sports team, do something really off the wall, start juggling, ride a unicycle, anything. Just do something different and open yourself up to the things that you might really fall in love with.
I mean, it's not happening immediately, but you're becoming the agent of your life, so take control and enjoy it. Yeah, and ninth grade is also where you lay your academic foundation. You'll get a reputation in the school. You also want to set the bar high for yourself. You know, don't limit your capacity to do work and achieve. You just want to do as best as you possibly can. So we like to suggest people read a lot.
For international students, this is extremely, extremely important. Your TOEFL is very important. Now, we don't recommend you start working too intensely on TOEFL early on. You can do it in sort of a sidelong manner. But what you should be doing is working on your English, and you absolutely should be working on your reading and reading comprehension.
So the next step is summertime, and actually summertime is the best opportunity for you to continue exploring what you've been doing for your freshman year. Just don't be a couch potato. Don't play video games all summer. Do something, anything. It doesn't have to be an internship or a job, but it should be something constructive. It can be camp or even taking a trip with your family, but just don't spend all your time either lounging, and also on the flip side, don't spend all your time studying. You know, it's not a good habit. You do need to give your brain time to decompress, and it's also the only time when you'll be free from obligations, so you should take the opportunity.
Absolutely. I mentioned in ninth grade you should be doing as many things as you possibly can. If you're in 10th grade, you should be doing a lot of things, but you should really be trying to find that thing that really works for you in terms of your extracurriculars. You should start to really narrow down and find your focus. And we suggest now you start to limit the breadth of what you're doing and start to focus deeper. Spend more than just 1 hour a week on something. Start spending more time on it. I had a student like this. He absolutely wanted to become a scientist. He knew that he loved science. And so he applied to a bunch of labs, started working with scientists and doctors in the 10th grade. He was a normal kid, not any sort of genius or anything. They really appreciated his input. He was participating in large-scale experiments, large-scale sort of science research. By the time he was a senior, he even had his name on papers.
So the takeaways: begin to narrow down in 10th grade what you do. You can't do everything. It's great to explore, find the things that you love, and be excellent at them. And like Jay said with that story, it's perfect. It's not magic. You know, how do you get to this level? It's just putting in the time and effort and energy. So once you figure out the thing that you want to do, it's just a matter of putting in the hours.
Because it should all be something that you love to do.
So junior year, this is the make or break year. This is the one where you got to buckle down, boys. Start preparing early and take tests often. Allow for score choice. So you can take a test, and if you're unhappy with it, the colleges will never know. There's no risk to take a test, so I like to say and encourage students to just take one, get comfortable with it, because no matter how many times you do one of those paper tests in your bedroom or the library, it's going to be different when you get into that testing room.
In your junior year, instead of just being a participant in a lot of the clubs that you're in or the activities that you're doing, it's really time to evaluate how you can become a leader, how you can distinguish yourself and become an expert. I'm a junior now. I need to start running for office. I need to start taking some initiative and planning programs and activities around my school. I need to start entering myself into competitions to distinguish who I am in these extracurricular activities.
And why is leadership important? One, it's good for college admission. But also, leadership affords you the opportunity to be accountable to people outside of yourself. And when other people depend on you, it really brings out the best. And it raises your responsibility, your maturity, and as well as your engagement. So, you know, anyone can join 10 clubs, show up for a few meetings here and there, you know, update a brag sheet. But a leader is someone, you know, who does much more than just showing up. They're the ones that get everyone else to show up.
That's what the top colleges want to see. They want to see you doing something with your peers and taking some leadership. So to take the next step, take the plunge and actually be a leader. What's the worst that can happen? Your academics, obviously, push yourself harder. You need to be taking AP and honors classes if you can. If you can't, push yourself to your level. Don't go overboard. Don't overburden yourself and end up doing very poorly. Push yourself to the edge of your level and just continue to do that year after year. Just like you took your extracurriculars to the next level, you've really got to take your summer activities to the next level. For this reason, you should be done your testing, all done, before your junior summer, so you can take your junior summer to do something really fantastic.
I'd strongly encourage you guys to just start writing those essays, start looking at the supplements, and just start thinking about it. I know it's hard. You don't want to think about college. You don't want to think about applying, but it's going to happen whether you want to or not, and you'll be much happier if you get the bulk of it done over the summer than in the hectic craze of senior fall.
And also college visits. Junior summer is a great time to go visit colleges and see the places that you're actually going to be applying to, and say to yourself, is this a place where I really could see myself?
Although keep an open mind. You know, there's not a whole lot you can tell about a school just by seeing the buildings and things. I know so many kids, they go with their parents, they get out of the car, they look around, they say, there's no way I could go here. And their parents say, how is that possible? You don't know anything about it. And they say, I got a feeling. I think that might be more reacting against their parents than anything else. But what I strongly encourage you to do is just sort of get a feel for it. And it's more about acclimating yourself to the fact that this is going to be a reality. And reserve your real judgments for after you've gotten into a school. When you go to the pre-frosh weekend in the spring of your senior year, because the school's content is really not so much the buildings or even so much the professors, but your classmates. And those are the people that are really going to shape your next 4 years. So make sure you get to know them and draw your judgments at that time.
Okay, seniors, you guys about to apply. What's senior year about? Well, you've done the work. You've done everything. You just got to keep up what you were doing. Don't slack in your classes. Don't slack in your grades. Don't slack in your extracurriculars. But you really can't change much. Now's the time where you've got to be working on your application. You've got to be digging really deep into yourself. We've got students who write a draft a week of their personal essay for a month or 2 months before they even turn it in. The college application is the picture of you, and you absolutely should not take that picture in one rushed evening before the application is due.
Yeah, I can't reiterate how important it is to just constantly be thinking, writing, and understanding your life as a story. Understanding your life as a story helps you realize that you're the author of it, not just for your application, but going forward. So it really can be a formative experience and a great opportunity to explore your own mind.
Great. So after you've chosen your schools, done your applications, got your recommendation letters submitted, you are ready to wait.
Well, I'd wait till April 1st, actually.
Wait till you get it.
Well, there have been a lot of waitlisted students the last few years. Actually, there are some new trends happening in admissions. Harvard and Princeton in particular don't allow early applications, and that's sort of pushing the whole process a little bit later. So I've seen a lot of students get waitlisted, and be careful to rest on your laurels too early, is all I would say, because if April 1st comes and you haven't gotten into that Harvard of yours, then you might regret slacking on a couple of tests early on, because your grades will matter. Now, that said, oftentimes this is a great period in your life. Senior spring only rolls around a few times in anybody's existence, and I would strongly encourage you to enjoy it, but also start preparing for the next step, because all the things we just told you, you're going to do them all over again. You know, you're going to repeat the freshman experience. You're not going to have any idea what's going on, and you're going to have to explore, experiment, and it's great. And you'll have even more freedom and responsibility. I would also strongly encourage seniors. You know, I give this advice to literally everyone I ever work with. I think about 2% ever take the advice. Consider taking a gap year, which is a year off between your senior year of high school and your freshman year of college. Of everyone I've known who's taken a gap year, they've all said they wouldn't imagine doing any otherwise.
So again, top colleges have their pick of anyone. Why would they want to pick you? You've got to be a person. You've got to be a real, living, breathing person, and communicate that in the application. Scores, numbers, grades are not a person. A person is someone who has interests, who has passions, who stands up and is a leader in their community around something that they really love to do. A person who works really hard, and a person who also plays hard, and a person who has relationships with people around them. That's what they want to see. So really, to distinguish yourself, it's kind of counterintuitive. It's not just work hard in the classroom. It's work hard on those great things that you really love.
And sometimes this means doing less rather than doing more, but always doing what you love. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, and Don't wait. Start something today.